A 36-year-old man dies in Red Creek. You'll hear his mother say why she believes it was foul play. Plus, who's filling up the Placencia Lagoon and under whose authority? We'll show you what's happening. And we'll have the latest on the plan for the new Balkan Bridge, but things hit a snag because the engineers never knew the city's sewage main runs right under that bridge. Also, we'll tell you about the controversy over administering HPV vaccine in Catholic schools. We've got details of these and other stories in our newscast for tonight, Tuesday, May 12, 2026. Good evening. With your news, I'm Indra Craig.
This newscast is brought to you by Cellular World, your authorized Samsung distributor.
Shop smart for your Samsung devices in Belize and enjoy benefits you won't get anywhere else. When you shop locally for your Samsung, all your devices will be covered by a 1-year local warranty. You won't get that when shopping with the other guys. When in doubt, always look for the Cellular World seal to know you're getting the real deal. Shop with confidence and enjoy your Galaxy knowing that it can be repaired locally at our Samsung Service Center by certified Samsung technicians using original parts and machinery. Even better, enjoy the best LTE experience in Belize, knowing that your Samsung devices are compatible with major local carrier networks. Get the ultimate Samsung Galaxy experience only when you shop from authorized Samsung resellers nationwide.
The Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing informs the general public that works from Belize City to Hattieville under the George Price Highway Upgrading Project are actively progressing. The public is advised that business signs and roadside memorials located within the road reserve, including crosses and other commemorative markers, will need to be removed. We recognize the personal significance of these memorials and are committed to handling this process with the utmost respect and sensitivity. Removals must be completed by June 12, 2026 in preparation for construction works. Following the completion of the project, interested parties must reapply to the MIDH for the reinstallation of private signs within the road reserve. The Ministry sincerely appreciates the understanding and cooperation of the public as we work to improve the safety and quality of our highways. For further information on the project, please contact the Project Execution Unit at 614-3195.
This Mother's May, celebrate the woman who makes the house feel like home all month long. Great deals like 15% off bathroom and kitchen fixtures from Moen, Hansgrohe, and Duraflow. Plus 15% off Hispasensa tiles, Stormguard windows, and 40% off Sunlight windows. And 15% off Berger paints and huge savings on clearance colors. So come in to Habet and Abet or Brothers Abet, call us or WhatsApp us today and make this Mother's May one to remember. Happy Mother's Day to all marvelous moms.
2026 marks a major milestone in the history of Belize's healthcare sector. The 25th anniversary of the National Health Insurance (NHI) program and the long-awaited national rollout of NHI services to the Cayo district, finally fulfilling a dream of primary healthcare coverage for all Belizeans. What started as an idea in 1998 became a reality in 2001 and has served thousands of Belizeans over the last 2.5 decades by providing access to quality healthcare, now in every corner of Belize.
One of the central pillars of NHI is access to quality healthcare.
All Belizeans will have access to quality hospital services through a national health insurance system.
It's a milestone that the whole country and all of the people of Belize, anyone who has a social security card, it's minimal out-of-pocket expenses, it's high-quality primary care. It allows almost all the population then to have the same level of health care wherever you are.
In 1998, the then Honorable Said Musa convened a group of us to work on the manifesto, and then a group of people in the medical field, and started brainstorming of how we could better healthcare for Belizeans.
The beginning can be traced to a study done by Cambridge Consultancy, where they produced a document on how to improve healthcare in Belize. One of the features of that study was the proposal that we have national health insurance.
As a matter of urgency, we will radically transform Belize's health system to ensure equitable access to quality health services.
It took a lot of courage to implement and begin the NHI. Prime Minister Musa made the bold decision to implement it.
So with a clear plan and vision for the future of Belize's healthcare sector, the NHI program was launched in Belize City's south side as a pilot project on August 9, 2001.
For the next 6 months, the 37,000 residents living on the south side of the Belize district will be able to receive free health care.
Prime Minister Said Musa, who cut the ribbon at today's opening, remains firmly committed to NHI.
But it will involve, as you no doubt have heard, the participation of 4 primary care facilities, 3 eye care centers, 5 pharmacies, laboratories, and 3 imaging centers in a new partnership between the public and private sector health providers.
You can walk into a primary care provider clinic, you can seek a consultation with a general practitioner. If in the event that you need a prescription, they will give you a prescription, and then you have a choice of 5 pharmacies where you can get that medication prescribed free of charge.
And though the NHI embarked on a journey to transform the country's health sector, it was met with its fair share of challenges.
It was a new concept.
It was a new idea, a very, very new concept. It was difficult. We met resistance from everybody. It was a up and down situation for many years, until we finally convinced the Prime Minister at the time we needed to do a pilot project to see how it would function. We got consultants, and we started the pilot project in the south side of Belize City.
Despite any prior reservations, in the 25 years that have followed, NHI has grown from a pilot project focusing on the south side of Belize City to a national health plan felt as far and wide as Pachacan in the north and as deep south as Dolores in the Toledo district. Today, NHI provides invaluable primary health care to some of Belize's most vulnerable members of society. And as it commemorates 25 years of service and a full national expansion, NHI is ready to move into the next phase of service to the Belizean people, with over 225,000 residents currently registered to the program and expectations for that number to reach over 300,000 after full national coverage.
We have 80,000 people with valid Social Security cards in the Cayo district. So we expect them to be the ones that will come to register for NHI.
Under this current administration, the NHI program has reached new heights, especially with financing from the proceeds of the sale of Toledo to the Belize Government Lotteries Limited. And with no plans to slow down anytime soon, the sky is the limit for NHI as it endeavors to serve Belize for another 25 years and beyond.
The expansion at 25 years is awesome. It marks a milestone. I believe it's going to be a legacy of the PEP government in their effort and their endeavor to give quality care, access to care, and ensure that the people of Belize have what they deserve in terms of medical care.
Well, it's a milestone that the NHI is celebrating 25 years this year, 2026. I mean, now that we have achieved this so far, I would want, or my vision would be that the same applies to secondary health care, that it be extended into the hospital services countrywide. And I hope it doesn't take another 25 years for that to happen.
The role of the social security system will be expanded to increase its contributions with the establishment of a national health insurance program.
I think NHI is forever. It's not gonna go. It might change. It should change. Our communities change, so the way we serve them has to change. But the concept of NHI, the concept of having universal coverage of primary health care for our Belizean people is here to stay.
NHI, an enabler of quality health and wellness for all.
The success of my business means a lot to my family, especially my brother, because I'm continuing his legacy, making butterfly art collages. It was very hard for me to receive payments. I had to go directly to meet the person I'm purchasing from and who I'm selling to receive payment. Because I opened my business account with Atlantic Bank, now I can make and receive payments online, and this has made my job much easier.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
A 36-year-old man from the Red Creek area of Santa Elena was found dead inside his home early this morning, and police have detained his common-law wife. Around 5:21 this morning, police were called to a residence in Red Creek where they found Leonard Pandy lying face up on a mattress in his home. His mother, Emma Clark, told investigators that her son had injured his lower back last week after falling. Pandy's common-law wife told police she last saw him alive last night before going to sleep. She said that's when she checked on him around 5 a.m. He was unresponsive. Notably, doctors saw what looked like hot water burns or scald marks on Pandy's feet and legs. The mother, Emma Clark, believes that it was foul play.
Well, this morning, the girl where I live with, she can't wake up, she can't hear me. And she said, Miss Emma, tell her what happened. He said, I want to see her. I tell her for what? He said, I think Lenny dead is stiff. I tell her what? Then I hurry jump up out of my bed and I gone and I see Lenny. When I gone, Lenny the panic floor stiff.
Like on the mattress or?
On the mattress. On the mattress stiff.
Face up or face down?
Face up with the eye open. Night before I hear them in the quarrel, you can't live in a relationship, always quarrel. Police always come. And she used to say it. She used to say, oh, one night time she can't kill her in her sleep.
His common-law wife has been detained for questioning. Placencia and St. Bite residents are raising the alarm after they noticed dredging and filling in their lagoon. The most alarming part is that neither village council knows who is behind the dredging, for what project, or whether it's even approved. In addition, there are no lights to notify boats at night, creating a safety hazard. We reached out to Chief Environmental Officer Anthony Mai, who told us he has been made aware of it and explained that various government agencies are preparing to go and inspect it either tomorrow or Thursday. He said they will have more information once the team returns. For now, work continues, and conservationists are worried for the marine life in the lagoon, especially if the project is unauthorized. We will keep following this story. There are reports that the contractor had previously violated conditions of a permit he received for a development on an offshore island. A land dispute in rural Belize caused a 21-year-old woman to get shot today. It happened in Lemonal village this afternoon, where Stacy Middleton and two other women approached a bulldozer operator who was clearing a parcel of land and asked him to stop the work. Police say the operator identified as Rupert Alexander Gentle, allegedly pulled out a licensed firearm and fired a single shot, injuring Middleton in her right leg. He has been detained, and police recovered his 9mm pistol with 15 live rounds. The matter remains under investigation. After the break, crews are driving piles for the temporary Belcan Bridge, but engineers just made a very messy discovery. It turns out the city's main sewer line runs directly underneath. Let's just say one wrong move and, well, we could all be up that proverbial creek when we come back.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
Prepare for the heat and stay cool with a Reamer-Gree air conditioning unit from Benny's. Choose the right BTU unit size for your bedroom or living room and enjoy complete comfort. You can also save money with an inverter unit that is energy efficient. When the heat is on, stay cool and comfortable with an affordable, dependable AC unit from Ream or Gree. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
Sir, why is it that our Belizean dollar doesn't go up and down like that, sir?
Because Belize chose stability by fixing its exchange rate to support how our economy works. And that choice didn't happen by accident. But to understand it, we have to go back to the beginning. So in 1894, Belize introduced its first official dollar and fixed its exchange rate 1-to-1 with the US dollar. We traded with America in both directions, exporting timber, chicle, and importing most of what we needed from the United States. A fixed exchange rate helped to keep price changes more predictable for both sides of the trade.
But how did Belize make sure the rate stayed fixed?
So that same year, a currency board was created to issue local money and protect the fixed exchange rate. Every dollar issued was fully supported by foreign currency. Stability wasn't optional or by chance. The institutions to protect the value were built into the system. For decades, we stayed tied to the US dollar because of our trade. But in 1939, World War II changed the rules. Britain required its colonies to hold their foreign reserves in British pounds. Belize still maintained its 1-to-1 US link for trade, but with reserves now in sterling, the system was exposed to changes in Britain's currency. That vulnerability showed itself in 1949 when Britain devalued the pound. Because our reserves were held in British pounds, that devaluation passed directly into our currency, meaning more local dollars were needed to buy $1 US.
So that's when Belize decided to act?
Yes, Belize made a deliberate choice on May 11, 1976, to anchor our dollar again to the US in a way that matched our trade and financial reality. Our monetary authority, now the Central Bank of Belize, took responsibility for maintaining that stability through disciplined oversight backed by strong US dollar reserves.
So our Belize dollar has stayed at 2 Belize to 1 US for 50 years?
Yes, and for a small country like Belize, that kind of stability makes everyday decisions easier for businesses and for families.
So it's not just about the money in my hand, it's about knowing that my credit union money or my savings at the bank will keep its value no matter what happens out there.
Exactly. The peg protects us, so Belize can plan, trade, and save with confidence, even when the rest of the world is shifting.
Now that we have the new water system, it has improved the lives of these people a lot.
The life of my village get better. Now we have our potable water in our house.
الشال شقيل بال بس استخا أقري شريش لقها أوستيك ما نقليها عن قتيو أم أوستيك وانكوش مان كما دناش وانكو تو نكوشيك شتاو عليقها نقاشوك شقوك نكوشيك شقوكات بس نخوانك أوستيك بياك.
I thanks for the minister to help us for drilling this well and give us the pump.
Right now, I see my village is getting good. I see water system, I see road, and we have our health post there.
We want to say thanks to the government of Belize, thanks to those that were there for Machakila, and we truly appreciate the support that is given.
Look here, your kitchen light, Diana, you never in the kitchen. But I'm going back in there right now. And the coffee maker?
Just to try keep me the coffee warm for later.
Where do you know?
I'll try to think about what to eat.
You know the more you open or close the fridge, it takes longer for the food cool.
Uh-huh.
For a hot day like today, it burns more energy. You charge your phone right now?
No.
Plug it out then. You really only wash 2 Lee socks and 1 Lee shirt? You don't know what small load burn the same amount of electricity as large loads?
But this is my favorite shirt.
You have to be more energy efficient. Use large loads. This AC, they blow hard. You know, if you keep the temperature at 25 degrees Celsius or higher, you burn less energy and you also keep the place cool. And for a nice day like today, turn off the AC, open up the house and make some fresh breeze come in.
You know what? I think I get it now. As consumers, we need to be more energy efficient and practice energy conservation.
As a small business, I started to attend pop-up shops like many other businesses, and we found that our customers wanted to pay by card and not cash. I went to Atlantic Bank, and immediately, without a problem, it's like, yes, you can have a POS system. That POS system we now use in-house, and we can also take it countrywide wherever we are. They were willing to take the time. They were willing to be patient with us as we grew our business, and that, for us, that meant the world.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Champion security, champion security, champion security. Yeah, yeah. Your security is our business, so we gonna protect you like a champion, like a champion.
Guess what, Mr. Handsome? Yeah, over there, champion security. This is the place to be. What does sign say? Champion Security. Here at Champion Security, we provide quality service. You know why? Such as triology lock, fire alarm, IP camera system, gate operator, biometric lock, and alarm system. Champion Security. Make a go check out where they go on inside of Champion Security. Boy, nice to meet you, my brother. Tell me a little bit more about Champion Security.
Well, welcome, Mr. Hanson. Here at Champion Security, we offer fire system, alarm system, camera system, gate operator, access control, and also trilogy locks and magnetic locks. Everything you need to do with security systems for residential and businesses, you could find everything here at Champion Security. We also consist of 12 technicians, and we offer technical support 24 hours. So anything you need for your security systems, you could find everything here at Champion Security.
Remember, guys, here at Champion Security, we live by our motto, where safety is our business. Give us a call now. Don't forget to check us on Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media platforms. And continue to shake it to the max all the way. Champion Security, the best place to be. We care for your safety.
You want to rent it? It's not a problem. We got remote gate.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
Last night we told you about the Mother's Day murder of 22-year-old Roberta Wicab in Trial Farm Village. Tonight, the partner of the deceased says that her common law's last words to her was him begging her not to let him die. She says she was unable to see the face of the man who shot her boyfriend.
Bueno, en el momento que pasó eso, yo estaba en mi teléfono. Cuando yo escuché los disparos, pero no pude ver quién fue. Solo miré su espalda que arrancó a correr, pero no lo capté ver su cara de él, nada. Lo único que me importó es de ver a mi marido. Y cuando yo corrí para verlo, él ya estaba tirado. Estaba vivo y me pedía ayuda. Me dijo, amor, no me dejes morir, me dijo. Eso fue lo único que él me dijo y fue cuando yo reaccioné y pedí ayuda. Y es cuando los dos corrimos, lo rusheamos en el hospital y él estaba vivo todavía, me pidió agua, habló conmigo, no me dejes morir y fue cuando lo subieron a la camilla y todavía estaba vivo en el hospital, se estaba quejando y estaba bien lastimado. Y solo me acuerdo de sus quejidos que él lo hacía en el hospital. Estaba luchando por su vida. En ningún momento él me dijo que él tenía enemigos así, nada, porque ya tiene como 5 años que él no buscaba problemas, se compuso. Él cambió bastante su vida. Cambió bastante su vida él desde que él se juntó conmigo. Cambió por mis hijos porque él quiso a mis hijos como sus propios hijos. Y nosotros salíamos a la calle como familia y nadie nos paraba, nadie nos decía nada. O sea que éramos una familia normal que salíamos y entrábamos. Y estoy en shock porque no sé por qué lo hicieron o no sé si era para él o no era para él, no sé, porque ese es un shock para mí que yo no lo esperaba.
Initially, her ex-common-law was detained for questioning. So far, no one has been charged. Tonight, the replacement of the Balkan and Swing bridges are at their initial stages, with piles already going into the ground to create the temporary bridge at the Swing Bridge. Today, we spoke with the chief engineer, Evandale Moody, who provided us with the latest updates for the bridges.
At this point in time, we have awarded a contract for the replacement of the Balkan Bridge. That has been awarded to Cisco Construction Limited. Today, I understand that the contractor is working on the installation of piles for the temporary bridge that will be constructed just behind Sayview. That will bring that temporary bridge from Evergreen Street across to the Philip Wilson Highway. So works are expected there today. He had already started with preliminary works because we had to prefabricate piles and other technical members for the structure. And so those were being done in advance, and now that those piles are ready to be installed, the contractor is preparing to do that today and then going forward. So the idea is that we want to try and complete that temporary structure within the next 3 to 4 months. And then we will be able to shift traffic to that temporary structure and then start with the removal of the existing Balkan Bridge. So we're doing that in anticipation to reach to that point where we could start the official construction of the main structure. In respect to the Swing Bridge, the procurement process will start in Japan very shortly for the engagement of a contractor for the main bridge. However, we have engaged a contractor locally to build a temporary structure, which will span from Hydes Lane going across to Regent Street West. Those works will also be implemented by Cisco Construction, who was the lowest evaluated bidder. And so we will build a new structure, at that location that will be able to accommodate 2 lanes of traffic in both directions. And so we anticipate that works will start there within another week or so as well with the construction of that temporary bridge. Once the temporary bridge is completed, which we anticipate that will take us about 3 to 4 months as well, then we will start with the demolition of the old swing bridge, which we anticipate we want to do sometime in August, September, which will take us up to the end of December.
The Belcan Bridge project is estimated at $20.5 million, and the grant funding for the swing bridge is $24 million US. However, the project has not yet been awarded to a Japanese contractor, so the final numbers cannot be verified. But while drawing up the engineering plan for the project, a key obstacle was not factored in, and that is the city's main sewer line that runs right under the Belcan. MIDH has since been working closely with BWS to determine how they will work around it without rupturing the pipes, which, let's just say, could be very messy. And best part? Well, they are being guided by the 1979 WASA drawings that show where it is located.
We have the BWS sewer main. It runs parallel to the existing structure, right? On the north side, the BWS sewer main is approximately 4.2 meters from the last pile that we have to drive for the new structure. And on the north side, it is approximately 8.3 meters from the last pile that we have to drive on the south side. And so initially it was a concern for us, but we had to do the setting out for the new bridge. And hence for rationale and reasoning why we had to ensure that we get the car dealers moved from Belcan, because we need to do the setting out to know where exactly the bridge will be aligned. The new structure is wider than the existing structure that is there. And so we had to set out the extent of the new structure to know how much we will have impact on the sewer main that is for BWS. However, based on what we have done, we believe we have sufficient room from that sewer main that we will avoid any damage to that main during the construction of the new bridge. But those investigations had to be done because we were notified by BWS that that main existed near the structure. So we had to do verification survey on the ground and then also meet with the BWS personnel to ensure that that line is secured and it's also away from our constructions.
Okay, would it be accurate to say that during the engineering assessment for the project that the sewer pipe was not taken into account?
The thing is that we did not know that the pipe was there. And so when we met with BWS, they pulled up some drawing that was done in 1979. And so they had to go back as well and do that research for us, and they presented us with those drawings that were done by a Canadian company in 1979. And so those are the information that we're utilizing now for the construction of the new bridge so that we could know where those assets are located for BWS.
And while you might be concerned about the risk of something going wrong and the sewer pipe bursting, it's a possibility, but the chief engineer says after their studies, well, it is not concerning.
What we have discussed with BWS on a serious note, we don't anticipate that to occur based on the measurements that we have discussed and that I have mentioned. BWS was initially concerned about the close proximity of our piling. And so we will be using what we call a diesel hammer to drive these piles in place. And so based on what I have indicated to you, looking from the north and piling towards the south, we believe our last pile are at those distances that I have mentioned to you. And we don't believe that the vibration from the installation of those piles will have significant impact on the pipe, because the pipe is also located beneath the riverbed, and it's also a steel pipe from what we have seen from the drawings that were done, as I said, in 1979. So we don't believe and we don't anticipate that that should occur. However, we have discussed the extreme with BWS. If that should occur, and if that should occur, then more than likely we will have to shut down that line from the nearest substation, which I believe is on St. Thomas Street, as far as I could understand from BWS. So that line would have to be shut down in an effort to stop the flow of waste going towards the sewer pond that are located in the Jane Usher area. So we're going to take all precautions that we can in terms of the construction, but anything could happen. But we don't expect that we will have any damages to the pipe. That's what we believe.
And while initial stages of the bridge work are underway, one part was the acquisition of the old bottom dollar building, the parking lot, and the warehouse. The government has purchased the 3 properties at $5 million. And what's the rationale? The chief engineer explains that either way, the government would have paid $3 million to move the sewer line, but it would not have made sense, and considering the temporary bridge that needs to be built, it was a better financial decision for the government to acquire and own those 3 properties.
Yes, the government of Belize has purchased that property. So that came about similar to the issue that we discussed earlier with respect to the sewer main for Belcan. We have a sewer main and a water main that crosses from Hydes Lane to Regent Street West. And that sewer main and water main, because we wanted to build a temporary bridge at that location, would be in the way. And so based on our field visit with BWS and a letter that I received from them, they wanted $3 million for us to move that line. We didn't have the time, right? Because we have a specific timeline with JICA for us to complete the construction of the temporary bridge so that we could have that temporary bridge in place by September of 2026. And then we had to move the existing swing bridge by December because the contractor will be in place by January of 2027. BWS would need 1 year for them to move that line. And so because it would cost us $3 million to move that line, and then we also have to find place for the Japanese contractor, we thought it was best for us to move the bridge over into Bottom Dollar's property. We initially looked at just purchasing or acquiring just a portion of it. However, that space could also be used for the storage area for the Japanese contractor, because as a government, the agreement is that we have to provide a storage area for the Japanese contractor when they arrive in Belize. And we also need to provide an office space for the Japanese contractor when they arrive as well. So because we had funding in the grant agreement, we had 500,000 US available for the rental of a space. We said, let's use that funds towards the acquisition of the entire property. And so Bottom Dollar has 3 properties. It has the parking lot, it has the Bottom Dollar building, and then it has the old distributors building that is adjacent to the swing bridge. So we would have had to spend $4 million to remove the pipe, the 2 pipes, plus for the rental of the space. And so we said, let's acquire the entire thing. Initially, they wanted $8 million for that property. But we negotiated with them and we were able to get it down to $5 million, which was much more closer to the valuation that we did, because we had to do a valuation for that 3 properties. And so we thought it was a better deal for us to acquire the entire 3 properties, utilize the parking lot for the new bridge, which will be government, utilize Bottom Dollar for the next 3 years, the building itself for the contractors' offices. And then we would eventually use the space where the old distributors is. We will have to demolish that old building. And then that will be the storage area for the Japanese contractor, which will be right adjacent to the swing bridge. Because they were also looking at rental of the parking lot that is by the old city council, where San Pedro Belize Express is. They wanted that property for us to rent. But it would have been very difficult and expensive for us to rent that property for 3 years. So it was ideal for us to acquire these 3 properties and solve the problem with the permanent bridge and also the space that we require to provide for the Japanese contractor. And hence, we took the initiative and we advised the government. And so we were able to acquire those 3 properties.
And as the bridge construction continues, so will work on the George Price Highway upgrading project. Today, MIDH sent out a notice to the general public that as the construction from Belize City to Hattieville is progressing, memorials and road signs will need to be removed. Removals must be completed by June 12th, the chief engineer explained.
So, as you're aware, we have commenced works on the George Price Highway, Lot 1, which is from Belize City to Hattieville. And at this point in time, we have the contractor, Cisco Construction Limited, working in 3 locations. They're working between Western Avenue and Fowers Road. They're also working near the Old Belize location, which is about mile 4 to 5. And they're also working near the airports, which is near mile 8 to 10. And so in an effort to ensure that we have provided the highway clear for the contractor, we need to ensure that all business signs that are located within the official road reserve and also the memorials that have been placed there by individuals that have had family members that have passed along the highway. We're kindly asking them to remove those signs and memorials within 30 days in an effort to give them that opportunity to do so on their own. If that is not done within this period that we have allotted, more than likely the ministry will have to take the initiative to ask the contractor to remove them. However, we wanted to give that opportunity to the businesses and individuals to do that first for us. Along the George Price Highway, we have approximately 100 feet of road reserve. The contractor will not be using that entire 100 feet. However, during the setting out process, he will maximize on that reserve that is there. And so we don't want to disturb those memorials. We want them to be outside of our working area, and for that to happen, it will have to be on private property. So at this point in time, because the highway is officially ours, we want to make sure that it is cleared so that we could give the contractor sufficient space for him to work. It's a lot because it seems as though over the years where accidents have occurred, families have installed these memorials along the highway without taking into consideration where they are located. And so now that we're working to improve the highway and we need that space, we have to ask them to move. Over the years, you also have businesses that have installed signs, which officially these signs needs to be approved by the chief engineer of the MIDH to allow individuals to place signs along the highway. In areas where that has been done, we're still asking those businesses to remove those signs at this point in time. And if the need arises after the project has completed, then they will have to reapply for those signs to be reinstated.
Another challenge is utility lines along the highways, but Moody says that they have been working closely with utility companies on what would need to take place.
Since we have started this project, we have had close consultation with all the utility companies, BEL, DJ, and BWS. And so we have involved all 3 utility companies in all meetings that we've had so far, and they were also involved in the preliminary discussions before we even started these projects. Yes, there are a number of lines specifically for BTL and also for BWS that are within the road reserve. However, we're trying to work with these utility companies to ensure that damages to these lines are minimized as best as we can. In some instances, like for example, from Western Avenue to Fowers Road, BWS already has a water main there. And so what they're trying to do is to install a new water main using the construction activities that we will be implementing so that they don't need to affect that existing line that is there. And so we're working with them to try and achieve this goal as well. And we are aware as well that we have the fiber optic line for BTL that is also located along that corridor. However, based on the extent and the surveys that we have done in conjunction with BTL, most of those lines will be located outside the scope of the works. We have some manholes that will fall within the corridor, and so we will work with them to try and relocate those manholes so that they could be outside the scope of work, so that in the future, if they have to do any remedial works along those lines, it is not within the corridor. Yes, there will be lines that will have to remain within the corridor because of where they are at this point in time. And the utility companies does not have funds to relocate all those lines outside the work, because those will cost millions of dollars. And so some of their lines, especially BWS, will have to remain under the carriageway. And we will just have to hope that those lines are in good condition, that we don't have any damages to the highway going forward. But as best as we can, we're trying to move to new lines where possible. However, that has to be a collaborative effort between the utility companies and the MIDH, because at many times these utility companies believe that we have to pick up that expenditure. And as a project official, we cannot carry that burden for the utility companies. They have to meet us halfway or somewhere that we could assist them, but we cannot take that burden full-handed and just pay for the relocation of their land. Bear in mind that those infrastructure works are what the utility companies will have to finance. And if they don't have the financing for it, then more than likely they will retain with the existing structures that are in place. We're giving them the opportunity now that we're doing excavation works. The trenches are open. If you want to come in and put in new lines, you have the opportunity to do so. And this is what I have discussed with the utility companies in the project meetings that we have with them. So we're giving them that opportunity now to do that. However, they have to ensure that they have the budget within their company to provide and install these new lines.
The Special Envoy for the Development of Families and Children yesterday issued a press release promoting the HPV vaccine, particularly to protect children from related diseases like cervical cancer. The Special Envoy, along with the Ministry of Health, is encouraging early vaccination and said, quote, while some individuals and religious institutions may have concerns about the HPV vaccine, protecting children from a preventable disease must remain a national priority. Therefore, we call on communities, families, parents, educational institutions, faith-based organizations, and leaders across Belize to stand united in safeguarding women and girls from this preventable disease and to support efforts that advance a healthier and more protected future for all, end quote. However, the Catholic Church is fighting back against this vaccine by saying they will not allow the programs on school grounds. Last month, the Director of Health and Wellness explained via Zoom that HPV has no symptoms and screenings are important.
At our health facilities, we have introduced, as I have mentioned before, and I just want 2 minutes to talk about HPV because it's extremely important. We've introduced the HPV vaccine in 2016. Upon the introduction of that vaccine, we have never gone to a rate higher than 50 or 60%. COVID came, dropped that rate into the 20s. I would like to say that we are very proud to announce that in 2025, of our target population, we have 75.9% of girls with that vaccine. This is excellent. It's one of the highest rates that we have seen in this region as well, compounded with the fact that we have introduced the HPV swabs, the test. So the test can be done two ways. You can have an HPV test that's done by your provider, or we now have the the test that you do on your own. And we started in 2023, and I recall that we've had over 35,000 women already tested for HPV. So we do have the engagement of the public. People are coming in and are asking for these tests. And the importance of HPV is this. Over 90% of cervical cancer is linked to HPV. But it's important to note that if you have HPV, that does not mean that you will develop cervical cancer. But that's the importance there, because HPV, human papillomavirus, it has no symptoms. So we can be sitting here and have HPV.
The MOHW explained that they will give a press briefing on the importance of the vaccine in the near future. We'll take a break now. When we come back, there's a new acting Minister of Foreign Affairs. We'll tell you who it is. Don't go away.
This newscast is brought to you by Cellular World, your authorized Samsung distributor.
Electricity is essential for everyday life, but behind every outlet, a lot is happening to bring you safe, reliable, and sustainable energy. Let's start at the beginning. Independent power producers across Belize generate electricity using a mix of renewable and non-renewable resources. Electricity travels across a network of high-voltage transmission lines capable of transmitting electricity across long distances. Electricity then reaches your nearest substation, where it is adjusted to a lower voltage, making it safe to travel on the distribution lines you see in your community. From there, electricity makes its final journey from the distribution lines to your home, providing you with safe and reliable power when you need it. We continue to serve you.
Nokshe Adventure Park came about from the birth of COVID. Everything was on pause for tourism. So we decided, let's do something different. We got 10 bikes, 10 ATVs, and we were just doing ATV tours. Shortly after, we were approached by the cruise lines. We agreed to work with them, and from then it just started growing. We set up the chocolate tour first, and then from there we went into the culinary experience at the different Mayan cultures. We have the gift shop, the cooking class, the shaman, and the healing, and it just all came together. When you reach a certain point, you need investors, you need partners to come into your business. Atlantic Bank just make it easy. Even my 7-year-old could do it.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
Senior Minister Francis Fonseca continues his recovery from triple bypass surgery. Reports indicate the senior minister was cleared for release from the hospital on Sunday and is now convalescing at home. But as we have been reporting, it will be a months-long recovery, and his very weighty portfolios were temporarily reassigned today. First off, Prime Minister John Briceño will hold over the Foreign Affairs portfolio. He told us, quote, Francis Fonseca has asked that I be assigned the portfolio of MOFA until he gets back, end quote. The Cabinet Secretary informs us that Junior Minister Marconi Leal will temporarily take over foreign trade, and for education, Minister of State in the ministry, Ramon Cervantes, will be holding over. The decisions were taken in Cabinet today, and the holdover assignments are expected to be gazetted immediately. Typically, the convalescence period for open heart surgery is 2 to 3 months, but it can vary considerably. In February, the Occupational Safety and Health Bill was passed in the House, and earlier this month, it went to the Senate. However, it was stalled in the Committee of the Whole, where it remains. Many senators had concerns and proposed amendments. Consequently, meetings were scheduled for consultations. But the next meeting, which was scheduled for Thursday, has been cancelled, and that meeting would have been with the Ministry of Labor. But in an email from the clerk to the senators, it says, quote, the team at the Ministry of Labor has informed that they are currently not in a position to engage in discussions or to respond to queries or to address proposed amendments during the meeting, that their role would have been limited basically to noting the comments and observations raised by senators, end quote. The clerk is asking that they submit written comments, queries, proposed amendments, and concerns to the clerk by Friday, May 22nd. These will then be forwarded to the CEO in the ministry for review. Courts in Belize found that former BTB executives, Director Karen Bevans and Director of Marketing and Industry Relations, Misty Michael, were wrongfully terminated when the government changed in 2020. Both the High Court and the Court of Appeal found that their employment contracts were valid and enforceable, and awarded both women hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages for wrongful termination. But the BTB was not convinced. It maintains the contracts did not have proper board approval and took its appeal all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice. Arguments were heard today in a virtual session with Eamon Courtney appearing for the BTB and Dean Barrow appearing for Bevans and Michael. Here's some of what they told the court about the authority of the minister today.
The board cedes to the chair and vice chair the authority to act for the board and to make those appointments. The board decided, and that arises from the evidence, which made plain that the board was kept apprised of the negotiations that were taking place. There are minutes that said the board was made aware that the minister and the chair and the vice chair were looking after this matter, making it plain that that was with the approval, the authorization of the board.
It is not, with the greatest of respect, a technicality for a minister and a chairman to make a decision that commits a board to more than $1 million in expenditure without the deliberation and decision of the board. It is contrary to good governance. It is contrary to Section 14. It is contrary to the duty of the directors to approve the appointment of the chief executive officer of this corporation.
The court has reserved its decision. You can see the entire 4-hour session online at the CCJ YouTube channel. The Social Security Board is promoting its 2025-2029 strategic plan. In a series of public consultations this year, they are focusing on scheme modernization, which means publicly floating proposed legislative amendments. And one of them is to shift from wage band system to a percentage-based system. Now, if that's gibberish to you, here's what it means. The wage band groups workers into income brackets or bands, whether you make $200 or nearly $300. If you fall into the same bracket, you get the same benefits, and you and your employer pay the same fee. But the SSB wants to modernize, pushing to join more than 100 countries that use a percentage-based model. Instead of rigid brackets, your contribution would be a straight, fixed percentage of your actual earnings. If you make more, the deduction matches it precisely. If you make less, it scales it down. According to the CEO, it would correct an imbalance of benefits.
Well, the appeal is because the current system, we call it a wage band system, but it really is a fixed earning system. So it moves incrementally. It moves from $55 to $90 to $130, and it keeps going up in that way, all the way up to $520. So what we saw was a limitation of benefit. There's only 13 insurable earning points that people can be at. It became a bit of inequity where some people were contributing at a higher amount than others, lower, and vice versa. So we recognize where a shift now to an actual of salary between a floor and a ceiling would be more appropriate. It allows for a more level playing field where you're earning 200, you're contributing at 200, compared to what we're seeing right now. Between bands, some people are earning, as we did in the example, people are earning 220, but they're contributing at 240. Then people are earning 250, but they're also contributing at 240. So you have an imbalance of benefits. Some people then are getting sickness benefit based on a higher salary, and they're getting retirement benefit on a higher salary. And the opposite then becomes true. People earning a little bit more are not entitled for that little bit more. So we recognize where this was a structural shift to get away from a very fixed and rigid system to a system that will allow for change and growth over time.
The other reform proposal is to establish a new contribution floor. That floor for weekly earnings is currently set at $55, and it has not changed since 2001. Contributors at that rate receive only a measly pension, as little as $50 per week, which is hardly enough to meet basic living costs. So the proposal is to remove the lowest two wage bands, $55 and $90 weekly. That will affect 6,006 contributors currently in those bands. The idea is to move them up to the new minimum contribution sum of $130 weekly. They would get more benefits, but would also have to pay more, which is a tough proposal for those making very little. We discussed it with the CEO.
Anybody contributing at those lowest bands are not full-time employees. So they're not anybody who's working a 40-hour work week, but they are contributing because they work the minimum number of hours to actually contribute to the scheme. We recognize as well that if they were to fall ill, they would be out of employment, and it would impact them very likely more significantly because that really means nothing coming in their part-time. So it does improve their sickness benefit immediately when we move them up to a 130 floor. So not just will they be contributing more, they'll be entitled to a better benefit, both if they fall ill and also at retirement.
But maybe they can't afford that higher contribution.
And that is where it's important for us to look at the split between employers and employees. At the moment, at that lowest band, out of the 10%, the employers are contributing more than 8%. And we recognize where there's a desire for us to keep it as close to that. Feedback from the consultation, several employers have said they actually contribute the full amount for the employees because it's just more efficient for them to do that, especially at that lowest rate.
We also asked CEO Palma about SSB's $82 million investment in Hydro Belize. Now that's a combination of an equity investment and a bond purchase. He explained the wisdom behind it.
For us, we recognize in the offering where we could have gotten 30%, we should have secured 2 board seats. When Hydro did their analysis from the feedback and the subscription, they also came back to us and said, well, you know what, this is where we're at. This is a full subscription for us to get to that 30%, have the commitment in terms of 2 board seats so we can have adequate representation and for us to participate fully. Additional to that, they came and said, you know, we have a bond placement with the intention of buying back the outstanding shares that were not then put for public. We looked at it favorably. It was going to give 6% return over 20 years. It puts us in a more efficient position where we increase our ownership up to that 30% without taking on additional shares, without taking on additional expenses in equity. So it puts us where we've invested about 41 million more or less in equity and about 42.5 million in debt. The debt after 20 years will be repaid to the scheme, which we can then reinvest and put to work elsewhere. It gives us 6% in terms of the bond investment. And from the equity position, we expect 10% or more return just in terms of dividends. And then ownership, direction, energy generation. Where can we now support the development of energy that can help our country to become more independent in that way? So it puts us in a very good position overall in terms of making that investment.
And how does SSB manage its social versus its corporate responsibility? We also asked about that.
Insofar as it is an investor with significant equity in these utilities, but it cannot act like the average investor with a instinct to maximize profits at all costs. And the position is invidious because at all times you are looking out for the well-being of the worker.
Yes.
And the contribution they make, they own the fund.
Right.
But at the same time, on no need to make no money as
Yes,
investors. How hard is it to manage a position like that, where you're burning the candle at both ends?
It is extremely a balancing act that Social Security must do, not just in our investment, to ensure that we place our money in not just sound and viable investment, but investment that serves a social cause. We have to be mindful of that as well. We do want to generate the returns, but we see it as well in terms of managing our benefits and our contribution rate and everything else, where increasing contribution rate excessively impacts people. Increasing the ceiling, for example, should have a positive impact, but it will mean people have to contribute more. So not just in the investment side, but in our day-to-day operation, we have to strike a balance. When we make these investments, the investment decisions are not always and only restricted to how much maximum return can we get, but can we invest in things that serve a social purpose?
Last month, we showed you the preschool performances for the annual Festival of Arts Showcase, but now the Bliss is preparing the stage for the primary schools. The show begins next week, and the director for ICA, Kim Vasquez, told us that this year's showcase will be one of their biggest as they attempt to revive a highly missed section of the Festival of Arts, the beloved Golden Nights event.
It's definitely one of the biggest sections of the Festival of Arts in terms of participation because of the number of primary schools we have across the country. And right after that, we are heading into the return of what used to be called the Golden Nights. So for many, many years, we have been doing a Golden Showcase, our national level showcase here at the Bliss. But this year, we want to try something different. We will have the Golden Nights in their communities. So you will have a Golden Night in Corozal, in Orange Walk, and this is to bring the community. This is feedback we have received over the past year. We've been working on our national strategy. We have heard that this is something the communities miss, that they remember from a previous generation when Golden Nights was something that you could come out and the children could get the support of the entire community. During the day, of course, many parents are working, the community is working, and we try to video and we try to live stream, but it's not the same. So we're really excited to see where this will go with the return of the Golden Nights. And on Monday, coming here, we have the opening of the visual art exhibit. We have participation from across the country. We have over 50 pieces of artwork from students. Again, a lot of districts have sent in artwork. We're really pleased with the level of participation. And also for the second year since we put back the literary arts last year, as everyone will recall, it had been absent for a long, long time, and last year we had the return of the literary arts. We had a publication last year. This year we have another one. We have over 45 entries, poems, short stories from both primary school and secondary students, and some of them have even sent in illustrations along with their stories. So we're really excited to launch that next week as well.
And that's all we have for you for our newscast tonight. Thanks for watching. With your news, I'm Indra Craig. Remember, you can find a full transcript of the news at 7newsrelease.com and see the streaming video on our Facebook page. Have a great night. Join me back here tomorrow at 6.